Race 2 of the weekend for the Ginetta Junior Championship is on the grid here at Snetterton. The Snetterton 300, the almost 3-mile long lap, is ready for the second race of the weekend for the Teenage Terrors that gave, as ever, lively racing yesterday. A second win of the season for Chase Fernandez in a race that was led initially yesterday by the pole position driver, Aflie Slater. He faded at the start of the second lap. Chase Fernandez got himself to the front, and even though we had a safety car period, he was able to control all of that and come out on top. It was a very well-judged win, his second of the season, and Chase Fernandez third in the championship now. One of the drivers to keep an eye on in this, along with Henry Jocelyn with him at the front of the grid. This grid based on their second best qualifying times, although Henry Jocelyn yesterday had a spin and rejoined into the traffic, just drove straight out into the pack and caused another accident, for which he was excluded from the race. Well, he didn't finish the race anyway, so you might say, what's the point? But the point was that for that as well, he was given behavioural warning points, which all add up to penalties if you get sufficient over the course of the year. So the exclusion was relevant in that respect. The green flag is shown. Everybody sets off then on the final warming up lap, with the championship leader, Ethan Jeff Hall, second in yesterday's race, with a bit of work to do today because he only starts on the third row of the grid. All of these cars the same, the Ginetta G40 with a slightly detuned version of the engine, the 1800cc engine, because they are junior drivers, 14 to 17-year-olds, but it's always been a championship that has given fantastic racing and remains the best supported of the Ginetta Championships, with plenty of stars of the future. The grid, Chase Fernandez on pole position, ahead of Henry Jocelyn. The R Racing and Preptech UK entries ahead of Charlie Hart for Elite Motorsport and Alfie Slater, yesterday's pole man, starting fourth. Ethan Jeff Hall, championship leader, fifth, and then Colin Cronin, part of a very illustrious Irish motorsport family, largely in rallying as well as racing. He's sixth ahead of Saeter, and then Tom Ingram Hill lining up eighth on the grid. Ninth is where you will find Isaac Phelps. He's been a race winner this year. Ethan Carney next in the lineup, before you get to Archie Clark, the grandson of the legendary rally driver Roger Clark. Nickolas Ellis alongside. Then it's Torrin Byrne and the Australian driver Ruben. He will go from 14th on the grid, ahead of Alfie Davis and Harry Moss, another second-generation racer. His father Nick used to race McLarens, ahead then of Felix Livesey, whose father Paul is in the GT Academy this weekend. James Ellis next on the grid. Then you get to Holly Mile and Mallory Mabunda in one of the two pace performance cars. James Shotton a long way back after a pretty good race yesterday. Jude Peters had a spin yesterday in the E3 Sport car, Jim Edwards Jr.'s team. Then Jack Robinson and Tiso Mabunda 24th on the grid. That concludes the lineup for this second race of the weekend. A real spread of victors this year. 2 wins to Isaac Phelps, 2 wins to Saeter, 5 wins to Ethan Jeff Hall. Chase Fernandez has had 2, Henry Jocelyn has had 3. Charlie Hart yet to win, but at the start of the year he had 5 second places on the bounce, and then he had a third place yesterday, so he's certainly overdue a win. That 43 with the onboard camera, Archie Clark for Elite Motorsport. His father Ollie, another competitive rallyist and regular competitor with great pace going up the Goodwood Hill. This is Colin Cronin's view. His brother, or one of his brothers, eldest brother Keith, 4 times a British rally champion, but like Robert, another of the brothers, coming into circuit racing rather than rallying. Coming into Coram, and although we've still got quite a bit of cloud hovering over the circuit, there's no forecast of rain, but you never know given what we've had of late. 25 then there is the championship leader, Ethan Jeff Hall, kart champion before coming into Ginetta's this season. It's going to be a standing start for the juniors, unlike the larger engine G56s, so they'll come up towards the grid. And pole position driver then, Chase Fernandez, brings the queue up towards the line. Or slot into place, we'll have that 5-second board and then be in business for the second of 3 races for the Ginetta Junior Championship. The cars this year on Pirelli rubber, as Chase Fernandez slots into place now. Over his shoulder, Henry Jocelyn, the 1x1 staggered grid. It's not the widest of pit straights here, so just to put a little bit more distance between the cars for safety purposes. The clerk of the course Paul Levitt going for the one-by-one staggered grid here. But Chase Fernandez, yesterday's winner, it's not the results of yesterday that sort out the grid. It's just a coincidence that his second best lap time was for pole and that he was a race winner yesterday as well. The last car in place now is going to be that of Itiso Mabunda. That should mean that we get the green flag at the back. The drivers then will look towards the gantry. And it's a long way. There's the flag now. Finally, the 5-second board is shown, and then all eyes on the gantry as the lights will go red. They do so now. Let's see who makes the best start then as the lights blink. Chase Fernandez is away nicely. Bit of wheel spin for 1 and 2, including there, look, from the third row of the grid, Colin Cronin. He survives the slide, but a little bit of time lost. And Chase Fernandez leads Henry Jocelyn then down towards Riches for the first time, with Charlie Hart going third, Aflie Slater going fourth as they turn their way through the right-hander. On board here with Archie Clark. Isaac Phelps just up the road ahead, and it's Henry Jocelyn who comes out of the corner ahead. He's got a point to prove after yesterday's error, but the triple winner this year hits the hairpin ahead. Lots of task wheel as they all scrabble through behind him. And onto the power now on that short run down towards the left-hander of Agostini. Palmer at turn 3. 1 or 2 wide in the background up the curb. And a challenge made, you can see on the inside line there by Ruben down in the yellow car, the driver from New South Wales and Australia, looking to try to gain ground. On the inside line, Henry Jocelyn fending them off. Look as he breaks for turn 4 down at Agostini. That very tight left that loops them back round. 3 abreast in the mid-pack. They've all survived it so far, more or less. A little bit of nudging there as James Shotton, number 17, gets into the back of Harry Moss. But they all survive that as well as they power on now up through the infield part of the circuit. On the outside line there, Archie Clark, a little bit of a rub though, and that fires him out wide against Tom Ingram Hill. Way out wide goes Clark. The rallying DNA coming into its own there. He's back onto the circuit, but certainly a robust lap from Tom Ingram Hill, whose father, David, used to be a Ferrari Challenge regular many moons ago. Back on board with Clark then. Onto Bentley Straight. He's not the only one to go wide. Nickolas Ellis, number 7 there, runs way, way, way wide and bounces back onto the circuit as they come then now down towards the Brundle Nelson S's for the first time. And it is Henry Jocelyn from Chase Fernandez, yesterday's winner. Charlie Hart third, Alfie Slater in fourth. And then further back, the heroics come a little bit lower down the field because you've got James Ellis, the man from Macclesfield, number 4 on the inside line there, trying to gain ground as well. 17 is James Shotton, trying to edge his way up the order. He was 7th yesterday, but starting a long, long way back on the grid for this race. Down towards the end of the lap, turn 12, Henry Jocelyn leads the way. This is where he had his demise yesterday. Contact and a spin, and then, as I said earlier on, he just drove out into the traffic, and that put pay to his race completely. But no dramas today. He leads, although he's got Fernandez right up behind him, and now benefiting from the tow as they come across the line. Jocelyn hugs the pit wall, so there's no chance for Fernandez to get up the inside there. Now Jocelyn moves back to the other side of the road to get the line for the corner. Slater attacks Hart in the background, but the 2 leaders go through absolutely nose to tail. Waiting to see what colour we've got third, whether it's silver. It is. That means it's Charlie Hart still just ahead of Alfie Slater. His brother Freddie, one of the stars of this championship before he moved on to race in Formula 4 last year. Bodywork flies in the background. Nickolas Ellis has got his wiper on as well. It's all getting quite frenetic, as ever, in Ginetta Junior racing a little bit further back in the queue. Leaders then, absolutely nose to tail. Sweep once more out of Palmer through turn 3. Jocelyn's car a little bit wider, maybe a little bit more movement in that there. Charlie Hart for 3rd, Alfie Slater for 4th, and then 5th, Ethan Jeff Hall, not yet making the progress here. Off the road is James Shotton. That's at turn 3. You don't often find cars there, so I suspect he might have had a bit of help in all of that, but he's trying to rejoin. The race leaders now turning their way through the infield, so out of Hamilton. The run up towards Oggies, and then on to Williams. Up the curb goes Slater, trying to avoid contact with Charlie Hart, but at the same time pries open the door. Ethan Jeff Hall right there behind, looking for a gap. To the inside line goes Slater. That's going to give him 3rd place. Look, coming on to Bentley Straight, and Ethan Jeff Hall tries to go through as well up the inside line. Gesticulation to Charlie Hart to say, let's try and work together and go after Slater here, but that's all well and good. He's the one doing the attacking. Charlie Hart hung out to dry a bit on the outside line there. Down they come. 3rd, 4th, 5th, all at play, and the leaders nose to tail. Fernandez not really attacking down Bentley Straight that time, as there, 75, is Colin Cronin, and he's battling with Marcus Saeter, who goes through, retakes the place on the inside line coming out of the S's. James Shotton, incidentally, has rejoined, but he's a long, long way back after his drama at turn 3, so he is moving. The road is clear as you're on board then now, coming through Coram. This is Cronin's view. And up front, new race leader. Chase Fernandez has done it. He's gone by. So the winner yesterday leads here. New order then. Fernandez ahead of Jocelyn as they come up past the pits. So Chase Fernandez hits the front on this second lap of the race, and let's see now whether he can edge away as the cars come past the pits over the timing line now. Through they turn. And Chase Fernandez, a tenth of a second to the good. Marcus Saeter, incidentally, has just done the fastest lap of the race, possibly helped by a toe in getting himself up past Colin Cronin. Out then of the right of Riches go the race leaders. And let's see now whether Jocelyn is going to be able to fight back. In theory, he should be able to. The cars weren't split by very much at all in the qualifying session for this race. But Chase Fernandez, tyres squealing, comes out of the hairpin. Third there, look now, is Ethan Jeff Hall. He's got himself up past Alfie Slater. Charlie Hart then elbowed back down to 5th. 6th is Saeter. In 7th place is Cronin. Isaac Phelps is 8th. Torin Byrne 9th for retirement yesterday after the bodywork came loose after contact. And 10th is Tom Ingram Hill. Race leaders then down towards Agostini. In yesterday's race they got 8 laps in, but we did have a safety car lap. So anticipate 9 today, and this is the third of them. Wiper on Nickolas Ellis, looks on the inside line there, number 7, the orange car, coming down towards the left of Agostini. He's up alongside Felix Livesey, who gets elbowed out wide all over the curb, but he's not the only one, because a little bit further back in the queue, also wide over the curb, was Alfie Davis in the Preptech car, number 74. So Fernandez leads the way. He was only a tenth up when they came over the stripe, and there he is, making the run now through the infield onto Bentley Straight once more. Fernandez ahead of Jocelyn. And let's see whether that gap's going to come down any further on the run to the S's, to the point where Jocelyn might be able to think about overtaking once more. Evenly matched cars, of course, everybody in the same base Ginetta G40. It's down to the teams, down to the drivers to get the best out of the package. Charlie Hart defending from Marcus Saeter there as they come down into the S's this time around. Slater down to 4th, looking to try to have a go back at Ethan Jeff Hall. Driving standards flag being offered at the end of the lap to Ruben Dan. Just going through the shot in the yellow car there. That's for track limit offences. And number 70 up the curb as well there. That's the car of Jude Peters that had a spin yesterday. Bit wide out of Coram there, Henry Jocelyn. That cost him half a car's length against Chase Fernandez. Up towards the line they come, out then of turn 12. And Ethan Jeff Hall, having got himself up into 3rd place, ideally wants the 2 leaders to start squabbling. That would give him a chance to go after the top 2, break away if he can from Slater there. Looking the green and grey car in 4th, Charlie Hart 5th over the line. And 12 minutes and change still on the clock, 12 and a half just over. There, Ethan Jeff Hall back under attack, look, because getting a toe all the way towards Riches. Alfie Slater in the wheel tracks, thinks about the inside line now as they make that run up towards Wilson. Slater has got the inside line, he's got the room, but he's not able to commit. And in fact, Charlie Hart round the outside, trying to take 4th place away from him. So rather than going 1 up, very nearly 1 back for Slater, gets his elbows out and hangs on to the place. But that might just now have given Ethan Jeff Hall the chance that he needed to break away. Race leaders still pretty much tied together, look, as they have that run now down into the left at turn 4, into the Agostini corner they come. Yet more tire squeal, and that's from the leader. Chase Fernandez locks up as he gets to the braking zone. It's a good advert for the durability of the Pirelli tyre, this, because just about everybody on the grid is abusing them in some way. Through they turn. There is 26. Henry Jocelyn, the man in 2nd place, and then look, 3rd, 4th, 5th, 6th now. That is Jeff Hall, Slater, Hart and Marcus Saeter. They're all running in a line. So that battle pack growing lap by lap. Top 2 absolutely together. Now again, Jocelyn in the wheel tracks, ought to get a toe here. Let's see what he can do. They accelerate down now into the left and right of the S's. Fastest lap of the race set earlier on to Marcus Saeter, and he's at the back of this queue. Chase Fernandez under attack, but interestingly, Henry Jocelyn not choosing to try to make a move on the inside. Is he trying to make a move late race, not show his hand too soon? Is he trying to force a mistake out of Chase Fernandez, and that in turn makes life a little bit easier? At the moment, seemingly, he's content to sit in the wheel tracks, and that's pretty rare in Ginetta Junior racing. Normally, any sniff of an overtaking opportunity and the drivers take it. Through Coram they come then, race leaders together. It was here a lap ago that Jocelyn drifted just a little bit wide. This lap, he's certainly tidier, and he has brought that gap back down, look, as they sprint now up towards the line again. Past the pits then comes Chase Fernandez, the driver from Oldham for R Racing, and then right behind him is Henry Jocelyn, who again does benefit from a tow. They go over the line. Fernandez covers off the inside line. Jocelyn thinks about what he's going to do next, but stay in the wheel tracks is the answer. Behind them, Ethan Jeff Hall, who is lapping fractionally faster. They need to be mindful that that third place car is edging closer, and in fact bringing with him Slater, Hart and Saeter behind. Again, Slater has his tight inside line. Charlie Hart looks for a way by, but to no avail there. Out of the corner they sprint now. And a time penalty of 5 seconds has just been given to Ruben Dan for track limits. He's had the warning flag and he's continued to transgress. So 5 second time penalty for Ruben Dan, as another lock-up by Chase Fernandez down at turn 4 illustrates just how hard he is trying in order to either fend off or get away from Henry Jocelyn. Second lap in a row, he's had that big lock-up, and you can see behind Ethan Jeff Hall, again fractionally faster within the first sector he's closing, and Slater quicker than all of those ahead of him in sector 1 of this lap, so it's got the chances of bunching up into a 6-way fight for honours late race. We're into the second half of it now as well, and it remains Chase Fernandez just ahead as they come now out of the right-hander of Williams onto Bentley straight once more. '27 Aflie Slater, continuing the racing dynasty. Dad Adrian, a very successful Porsche racer many years ago, and Freddie Slater from Ginetta Juniors, in which he absolutely dominated, then into Formula 4 last season, and racing in International F4 again this year. There's the yellow car of the penalised Ruben Dan, about to lose out because up the inside line goes Archie Clark, number 43, and goes through, and then Felix Livesey joins the party as well in the white car, but he can't quite find a way through there. 31 is Felix Livesey, and on his tail, Ethan Carney, number 53 there. So another good little scrap going on. This is 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th on the road. Leaders together up towards the line. Chase Fernandez somehow hanging on to that race lead, and Henry Jocelyn again gets the tow, comes over the line in the wheel tracks, but not yet, looking as though he's prepared to make a move. Down towards Riches. Again, no indication that he's about to dart out to the inside, nor does he really move around in the mirrors there to distract Fernandez, although Chase's car has a little twitch mid-corner. He recovers from that, and have a look behind. Ethan Jeff Hall getting away now from Charlie Hart, who's up to 4th, and Marcus Saeter up to 5th. So Alfie Slater is the one that's dropped back into 6th place, and that therefore means that Ethan Jeff Hall does no longer have to worry about what's going on behind him. He can concentrate purely on catching up to Jocelyn. Suddenly, with 7.5 minutes to go, that lead dynamic changes. It's not just 2, it could well be 3 by the end of this lap. Ethan Jeff Hall hustling on now. He's taken 4/10 out of them on that last lap alone. They get to the end of the first sector, and he is the quickest of the 3s, almost there. As there, look, Marcus Saeter gets up the inside of Charlie Hart, who was caught off guard a little bit there because the door was open. And Charlie has run out wide, 2 wheels onto the dirt, all 4 the wrong side of the white line. Up the inside comes Slater. Charlie Hart gets his elbows out and tries to squeeze him on towards the grass, but Slater goes through. Brave stuff, this. This is more like Ginetta Junior racing. And Alfie Slater then up the inside goes by, and they're both being caught now, look, by 75 of Colin Cronin. Slater up the inside, goes ahead of Hart. Here comes Cronin, door absolutely wide open for him. Up towards Williams, gap on the inside, through he goes. Colin Cronin going nicely now, runs a little bit wide onto Bentley straight. That slightly compromises the exit speed in the Fox Motorsport car. The Elite Motorsport entry then of Charlie Hart back alongside as the leaders come down now into the S's. Chase Fernandez ahead of Henry Jocelyn, and then in 3rd spot, Ethan Jeff Hall edging ever closer, quicker than the 2 ahead of him in the 2nd sector of the lap as well. He's almost there, almost now. Part of that lead battle with just over 6 minutes of the race to go. This is Clark down through the gears into the S's. Ruben Dan just up the road ahead on the left. Felix Livesey has gone by. He makes contact with Ruben Dan. Inside line into bomb hole. Livesey goes by, Clark goes by, and Ruben Dan, hung out to dry, falls back 2 places. more task wheel through Coram. And in fact, Ruben Dan has dropped a long way back, look, totally off his stride there. So he's already got the time penalty, and now he's lost a whole load of ground as well as they come here up through turn 12, heading over the line, and it's game on for the race lead, look, because Ethan Jeff Hall has caught right up to them now. Through they turn. And so Ethan Jeff Hall in third spot on the back of Henry Jocelyn, who is on the back of Chase Fernandez as they get to the Wilson hairpin. To the outside line goes the championship leader, Ethan Jeff Hall. Remember, he was 5th on the grid. He's had 5 wins this year. He's just done the fastest lap of the race as well. Behind them in 4th place, Marcus Saeter, ahead of Alfie Slater, and then it's Charlie Hart. But now it's 3 for the race lead, and Henry Jocelyn is going to be crucial in all of this in terms of how much of a defence he can put up against Ethan Jeff Hall. If Jeff Hall can get by him swiftly, I reckon he can have a good go at Fernandez. And here he comes, look, to the outside line, down towards turn 4. Wide in, tight out, may well be the answer to try to squirt up the inside, heading towards Hamilton. Not able to do so. Ethan Jeff Hall straight away, look, on the attack. Henry Jocelyn has been a bit more placid, seemingly. He hasn't been all that busy looking to try to go left or right or force an error out of Fernandez, but he's going to have to change his game plan here because now he's got to attack and defend at the same time. Out of Williams onto Bentley straight. Now this ought to play into Ethan Jeff Hall's hands, shouldn't it? Fast part of the circuit and a toe, and he comes out of Williams very close. What, about a length and a half, if that, between 2nd and 3rd. Ethan Jeff Hall closing on the run down Bentley straight. Getting a replay of dramas here at the start of the lap. Nickolas Ellis is one of them, and bodywork flies off Jude Peters' car. Right, for the 2nd and 3rd battle, it's the same order, but you could put a handkerchief over the top 3 now, so close are they. Jude Peters with the damage, limps back to the pit lane in the E3 Sport car. And these are the 3 race leaders. We've got 3 3/4 minutes to go. This is lap 7. Ethan Jeff Hall, slightly tighter line into Coram Curve on this lap. Through that fast right, drop down the hill. Out of turn 12. And again, an opportunity now on the pit straight to try to use the toe to your advantage, although Ethan Jeff Hall has fallen back a couple of lengths here. Henry Jocelyn then, as they go through with 2 more laps to go, looks to the outside line. Finally now, he is starting to commit. Maybe it was all part of the plan to do it late race. Just let Chase Fernandez hang on in there, and then late race he can make the move and try and grab the lead. He doesn't have to hang on to it for quite so long, therefore. Goes to the inside, gets crowded out. That leaves the door wide open on the outside for Ethan Jeff Hall, who goes round the outside of 1 and tries to go round the outside of 2. He's up into 2nd place, but he's going to be on the outside line coming off the hairpin. He's ahead, though, of Henry Jocelyn, and Ethan Jeff Hall, 5th on the grid, now 2nd, goes after the race leader with 1 more lap to run at the end of this. Henry Jocelyn spent so long staring at the back of Chase Fernandez, and now he's staring at the back of Ethan Jeff Hall's car. Change for 2nd place, and straight away, look, Ethan Jeff Hall goes one side, goes the other. Fernandez has to go defensive. Jocelyn possibly spurred into action, tries to fight back on the outside down at turn 4. No avail, though, it comes to naught. Chase Fernandez did a really good job yesterday of defending and taking a 2nd win of the season. Let's see what he can do here. He's under huge pressure from not just 1, but 2 of them now. They're heading towards the Bentley straight for the 8th time of asking. And on this lap, Chase Fernandez comes onto the straight with a length or 2's advantage over Ethan Jeff Hall behind. Let's see whether he can hang on to that sort of a gap. I doubt it, because now the toe should kick in, and Ethan Jeff Hall ought to be able to get closer to Fernandez, just as also Henry Jocelyn ought to be able to get closer to Ethan Jeff Hall ahead of him. Into the braking zone they come now. Turn left. That slightly more arced first part of the S's, in which Fernandez slides, and then the sharper right. He's up the curb as well there, and they've all concertinaed now, look, as they come to bomb hole. That's the sunny part of the circuit. Through the right, tighter line only fractionally by Ethan Jeff Hall, applying the pressure all the time. Chase Fernandez comes into Coram, this long right. The road drops slightly at this point, brings you all the way round towards turn 12. And then that climb up the pit straight. And Chase Fernandez looking a little bit more ragged as he came out of Coram that time. So 1 more lap to run. Any one of these 3 could turn out to be a race winner. Up to the line they come. Fernandez just about hanging on to this advantage. Ethan Jeff Hall again gets the toe as they come over the line. .173 of a second is the margin. Fernandez covers off the inside line, heading up towards Riches to the outside line. There goes Ethan Jeff Hall, and he commits to the outside. He's ahead, but can he get the job done before they get to the hairpin? Henry Jocelyn suddenly buys back into it as well. He goes to the inside line. Fernandez covers that off. Ethan Jeff Hall on the outside, breaks as late as he dares. Fernandez comes back at him, hangs on to the advantage. Chase Fernandez leads, coming out of the hairpin. Now it's side by side for second look. Jocelyn is on the outside, Ethan Jeff Hall on the inside as Fernandez chops across the road to get the line for the next corner. Henry Jocelyn is going to get run out wide over the curb there, which he does, and he has to slot back in third place. And Chase Fernandez really needs that top two to squabble amongst themselves and delay themselves. That will allow him to escape, and Jocelyn is coming back. Look at Ethan Jeff Hall for second place now. Ethan Jeff Hall for R Racing, for Preptech, Henry Jocelyn. And look, the race leader, Chase Fernandez, another of those for R Racing, edging ever so slightly away, and he needs to, rather than be able to give them a tow coming onto Bentley Straight for the last time then. So can yesterday's winner do the double? One win before the weekend, now twice a winner in the championship, and a third win looks like it could be half a lap away. Chase Fernandez onto Bentley Straight. There, Ethan Jeff Hall. By the time he'd been able to work his way through that battle pack for fourth and get up with the leaders, maybe it was a little bit too late, but he's not given up yet, and he's got a good run then coming down Bentley Straight, heading into the braking zone. Behind them fourth, it's Alfie Slater. Saeter is fifth, and sixth is Charlie Hart. But the race leaders then go left and they go right through the S's for the last time. And despite that cracked headlight, Chase Fernandez looking good up front, and a third win of the season looks like it's heading his way as the cars then now head to the right-hander of Bombhole. Now, time penalties are coming, and one of them is for Henry Jocelyn. He's going to be given 5 seconds. Another one will go the way of number 19, Mallory Mabunda, and a third driver to get a penalty is Ethan Carney. But out of the leading group, Henry Jocelyn is the significant one, as Chase Fernandez has done enough to come out of turn 12 clear in the lead, and now to be able to breathe a sigh of relief on the run up towards the line. Fernandez P1, says the board, for the second time this weekend. A delighted Chase Fernandez takes the race win. Second, Ethan Jeff Hall. And third over the line, Henry Jocelyn, but it's going to be Alfie Slater who takes third, ahead of Saeter, Charlie Hart and Colin Cronin on corrected time. And here, further back, still side by side as they battle to the line. Just ahead there was Tom Ingram Hill, ahead of Torin Byrne as they came through, and the margin between those two, 0.169 of a second, and all of that was for 9th and 10th places. So Chase Fernandez takes a second win of the weekend. Ethan Jeff Hall, I think, will be content to bank some points. It's all good for the championship, that puts him in good stead. Chase Fernandez will be a very happy man indeed, no question about it. Ethan Jeff Hall taking the rookie class for people new into it this year, but the our racing team very, very happy indeed. It's a long in-lap here, but all the drivers getting themselves together and waving to the marshals. But Chase Fernandez, a very, very good drive indeed that. He may not have had the speed at any point to be able to pull away, but he was able to defend really impressively and didn't crack under the pressure. He was really good yesterday at withstanding the pressure as well when that was being applied after, for example, the early stage when he got the lead, and then also when we had to have a safety car restart. Chase Fernandez coped with that really impressively, and another fine drive today as well. So Chase Fernandez it is who takes a second victory of this weekend in this 15th round of the championship. His other win coming at Donington Park earlier on in the season. Second place, as it was yesterday, Ethan Jeff Hall, and then for third place today, going one better than he did yesterday, Alfie Slater. So the top two the same, and a 1-2 again for R Racing. So the final few cars come home. That allows us to confirm a race win for Chase Fernandez by half a second from Ethan Jeff Hall. Alfie Slater coming home in third place. Saeter fourth, then Charlie Hart and Colin Cronin, with Henry Jocelyn's penalty dropping him to 7th. Isaac Phelps 8th, ahead of Tom Ingram Hill, just ahead of Torin Byrne. 11th, Archie Clark, then Felix Libsey and Harry Moss. Alfie Davis was 14th, with Ethan Carney next, then James Ellis and Jack Robinson. Holly Mile 18th, ahead of Matiso Mabunda. James Shotton 20th after a spin. Mallory Mabunda was next. Ruben Dan's time penalty putting him 22nd. Nickolas Ellis a lap down, retiring into the pit lane with damage. And Jude Peters a retirement as well with his damage after his big moment down at Riches. So, a very good drive indeed by Chase Fernandez, converting pole position into that early race lead. Henry Jocelyn doing the attacking, but never quite being able to really make a proper move for race leadership. Even Jeff Hall picking his way through the battle pack behind. It took him a while to get through the traffic, but it was always looking as though he was going to end up close to the leading group with time on his side. Henry Jocelyn then briefly ahead on that first lap before Chase Fernandez was able to assert himself. And a little bit further back, Aflie Slater battling hard with Charlie Hart, and Colin Cronin getting in on the act as well. He was able briefly to move ahead of Hart. Ethan Jeff Hall wriggling his way through the traffic up into third place, coming out of the Wilson hairpin, and then finally, having got to the front of that battle pack, was able to try to make progress. Ruben Dan got a bit hooked up with Felix Livesey, and Ruben Dan's car, also given a time penalty for track limit abuses, would fall down the order. He got a bit busy for the race lead as Fernandez defended from Jocelyn, and that gave Ethan Jeff Hall the chance to swoop round the outside. Second place was his, but he could never quite assert himself for the race lead, and that meant that Chase Fernandez would come through for not only a second win of the weekend, but a third win of the season in the Ginetta Junior Championship, with one more race to come this afternoon.